I'm looking for reasons to love you
Right.
instead of looking for reasons not to love you or looking for reasons to be frustrated with you,
Mhm.
and reminding myself every day, like, this is why I love you. This
Mhm.
is why I picked you. This is why I chose you.
Hello and welcome to the Sittin In A Tree podcast, where we're helping you build a fun and fulfilling marriage, sharing our stories, and giving out advice to move your marriage forward. Now, here's today's show.
Hey guys, I'm John,
And I'm Shallon.
and this is Sittin In A Tree podcast, the podcast where we try to help you have a fun and fulfilling marriage. Be sure to subscribe, like, download, all of the things so that we can help get this show in front of a larger audience. This week's topic, super love.
Super love. You know, it's right after Valentine's Day and we're all in love and all those mushy, gushy feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought we'd talk about super love. We're going to start with the acronym, the S, and sacrificial love. And I
Right.
think that you do a great job of embodying sacrificial love. What do you think about sacrificial love?
Sacrificial love is basically putting your partner before yourself. So I'm willing to lay down my wants, desires, needs in order to give you whatever it is that you need or you want or you desire. I don't know why that came kind of, I don't want to say naturally, but it was just an understanding that I had in marriage, or what I wanted our marriage to be. And so I, for the most part, I mean, I'm not perfect and I'm selfish at times too, but I think it's important that you, if you're truly going to love in a way that your marriage is going to be fun and fulfilling, you're going to have to be sacrificial in that. And that's basically, going back to the Bible, to love your wife as Christ loved the church. And Christ died for the church. So while I would be willing to give up my life literally for you, I believe that's not, hopefully never has to come to that extreme, but just in my day-to-day life, trying to remember that as a husband, as a Christian, it is my job to lay down my life for you, which means just as Christ was the sacrifice for our sins, then I also have to sacrifice myself for you. We like to a lot of times focus in on wives be submissive. That's where most things go. But it doesn't go most people don't go real deep into husbands love your wife as Christ loved the church. Because if husbands do that, all the other stuff falls into place. You don't have to worry about, well, what does it mean to be submissive? And what does this mean? And what does that mean? The sacrificial part of it takes care of all of the rest of it. And so when you are putting your partner before yourself in a sacrificial way, the rest of that biblical marriage is going to fall into place. It's the same way as when Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself. So you have to be willing to put the other person's needs ahead of your own. That's what sacrificial love looks like. It's not always easy to sacrifice. And if it is never reciprocated, it could become a very heavy load to carry. But the deal is, if you are with someone who is trying to better the marriage and trying to work on themselves and work on the marriage and all of that, they will also be sacrificing too. And so if it's a two-way street, that sacrificial love, that's really just one of the things, one of the, whatever, 5 things that we're going to talk about. One of the 5 things that pushes your marriage to the next level.
Right.
It's not the same as every other marriage when you are willing to sacrifice. Both of you are willing to sacrifice in that kind of a way.
Well, and I think that's what's unique about a Christian marriage. A lot of times you don't have that sacrificial idea in a non-Christian marriage that you do in the Christian marriage. It's overlooked, though, even in a Christian marriage a lot of times. And so it's so important to really both recognize it and appreciate it, but also make sure that it's part of that. And you always have. You've just always, from the very beginning, been willing to sacrifice anything and everything in our marriage. And I feel like I stepped into our marriage with that idea, but you were such a great example of your willingness to sacrifice that I was like, wow, I want to be that example too. I want to sacrifice in our marriage so that we can work on goals together or do whatever we need to do to make our marriage better. And so to be that willing to sacrifice something and to lead like you did in your willingness to sacrifice. And so it was easier to be willing to sacrifice or to, as you were talking about, submit and say, okay, like, what do we need to do to get where we need to be and make this successful in our marriage? But to see that kind of play out is initially probably scary if you don't know the person or those kind of things, but definitely is unique in a Christian marriage to see that playing out and see where it takes you.
Mhm.
But it's definitely a part of what makes super love and a super marriage fun and fulfilling, and part of it for sure.
Into the submission thing again, you're not submitting to necessarily a demanding leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You're submitting to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And sacrifice is easy to submit to. It's much easier for you to submit. It's almost like you're submitting to your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's sacrificing to give me what it is that I want and I need. To not submit to something like that is ridiculous. I mean, then you're just trying to be obstinate, right?
Right.
And so that key to submission is the sacrificial element. It's not necessarily me telling you what to do at every moment of every day. It's me being willing to sacrifice and showing that sacrifice. And then you're not submitting to my orders, you're submitting to that sacrifice and that type of sacrificial leadership. And that's the type of person that you want to follow. It's not I'm in front and you're coming along behind me. It's that we're walking together, and I can lead from beside you. I don't have to lead from in front of you or behind you. We're in this together. We're walking side by side. And if I start turning one way, you'll follow me there because I've built that trust through the sacrifice. So I think that's what sacrificial love in this super love that we're talking about. I think that's what sacrificial love looks like. It's being willing to put your partner before yourself. Like everything that we ever talk about, can that go to the extreme and go too far? Yes. If there's only one partner that's doing that for an extended period of time and for the entire marriage or something like that, there's only one that's sacrificing, then yes, that's not a healthy marriage. But a healthy marriage is going to be someone decides to lead in that, and I think it should be the man personally, just because of our biblical roles. I think that you should lead out of sacrifice, but then the wife should come along beside that and submit to that kind of sacrificial love that goes both directions.
What about in a new marriage when you haven't built necessarily that trust?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think you start that process in jumping into that sacrificial love and building that trust? Do you think it's just time, or do you think it's something that really is like, I'm going to do this and they'll get on board? Or how do you think that works out?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to work different for every personality. And every person and where you are and how much you've talked about these type of things. But, there's a couple different ways. If you're listening to this or watching this and you haven't got married yet, this is a great thing to talk about, before you get married. If you're already married, and you're in this marriage and things aren't going well, or you're just wanting to do things well, again, the communication, talk about it. And even if you can't talk about it, just start doing it. It's one of those things that will be noticed. Mm-hmm. There will come a point where there will be a conversation about it because it's something that's going to be noticed. Your partner is going to notice you sacrificing in that type of way. Mm-hmm. And so for those that are newly married, I think you do have the conversation about it, but I think it's okay to start even living that before you even have the conversation. As a Christian, that should be our role anyway. I mean, we should be sacrificing. The abundant life that Christ promises us is one of sacrifice. It's an oxymoron. Just, like blessed are the peacemakers and, loving your enemy and all of those things. It seems to go against what would make sense. But living a life for Christ, a lot of times it does go against what would make sense. It's way different than the modern thoughts of what's in it for me. What is marriage going to do for me? How is this marriage going to fulfill me? And it's all inwardly focused. When we're talking about sacrificial love in this super love, this fun and fulfilling marriage that's different than, maybe marriages that you've seen before, that type of love starts with a sacrificial love, to not be so much in it for yourself, but to be in it for your partner, to love them so much that you're willing to lay down your life for them. That's and I know it sounds big and grandiose and all of that, but it's an everyday thing. It's just an everyday thing of, I try to make sure that you eat before I eat. Those things sound silly or just whatever, but if I'm going to get a bowl out for cereal, I get you a bowl out, whether you use it or not, whatever. But I try to purposefully always think of those things first. If I'm going to get me something to drink, I try to ask, do you need something? Is there something you want while I'm up? It's those type of things. And then, but you do the same thing. And so it's just something we've built our marriage around, probably more unconsciously than consciously. I mean, it's just because it comes from our trying to live for Christ in the best way that we can. It bleeds over into our relationship most of the time, not all the time, because sometimes we're selfish too. But it's that fun and fulfilling marriage. If you're living your life for Christ, it comes through you applying all of those same principles into your relationship and into your marriage.
Moving on to you.
To me?
Not you,
Yeah.
but the you in super, unconditional.
Right.
So unconditional love.
What do you think about unconditional love?
What do I think about unconditional love? I think we are human and we are not always great at unconditional love.
Right.
But we have a great example as Christians about unconditional love when Jesus came and died on the cross for us and showed us unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that great example to live up to. And at times we build that up as kind of impossible, but it's a great example to use for what we can do in our marriage. And I think that the idea of unconditional love sometimes feels so big that we say, well, we can't do it. So I just love you the best I can. And that's a great idea, but I think it really is about striving to have unconditional love for your partner. And it's really about loving them, warts and all.
Right.
So loving them on their best day, loving them on their worst day. It's really that for better or worse kind of moment and living it out every day. And so I love you no matter what, whether you take out the trash, whether you have a great day and remember to set out my cereal bowl or not, I love you no matter what. And really living that out every day and finding reasons. We've talked about that here, really finding reasons to look for why I love you. And remember why I love you, because I do. I love you no matter what. And so it's really focusing on I love you no matter what. And that's what I really focus on. And living that out really makes it more fun and fulfilling because I'm looking for reasons to love you.
Right.
Instead of looking for reasons not to love you or looking for reasons to be frustrated with you. And reminding myself every day, like, this is why I love you. This is why I picked you. This is why I chose you. That is the biggest part of what I try to focus on instead of feeling like this is this impossible thing to find unconditional love. This is the reasons why I love you.
I think it looks, it's back to your wedding vows, like you said, rich or poor, sickness and health, better or worse, all of those things. It is a conscious decision to love. We've talked about that in past episodes, that you have to make a conscious decision to love. It's not something that just happens. Those feelings are something, but they're not necessarily the kind of love that lasts. The love that lasts is one that you decide to have, and it's unconditional. Right. I love you regardless. And, the good times can be really good and the bad times can be really bad. I have to decide to love you in all of those moments. I don't fall out of love. I decide. When you fall out of love, you've made a decision you're not loving that person anymore. But as you're trying to build a fun and fulfilling marriage,
right,
it's really the bedrock of it is that unconditional love, that I'm going to love you no matter what. I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to love you unconditionally. Right. So the third one, the P, is present. What's that mean?
So I think it encompasses a lot of different things. And you think about being present in the moment and in all of the moments and really finding the experience, good, bad, or indifferent, that it's making those moments, those memories. We talk about finding the moments, finding the good moments even in the tough moments, finding the time to, put your hand on your partner's leg or grab their hand and just say, hey, I'm here. We're going to get through this. And so it's being present and being there for them no matter what, and being in the present with them and not being somewhere else. Technology surrounds us all the time. We're here because of technology.
Right.
And so not being lost in your phone, not being lost in something on social media, and really being present when things are going on. And so when you come home, taking time to say, hey, like, I'm here, I'm hugging you, I'm checking on you, I'm seeing about your day, I'm present with you. Do you need something? What do you need from me today before I leave for work? Do I need to pick up the dry cleaning or check the mailbox or whatever, so that you are present with that person in all the times, in all the moments that are happening throughout the day. Now, I realize you do have to be on your phone or you may have to do something, but there are other moments that you still take away from what else is going on and saying, I am present with you. I am connecting with you and I am present
Mhm.
right now for you.
Being there, being in
Mhm.
the moment, being in that spot, being where you're supposed to be, both physically and mentally.
Mhm.
A lot of times we're physically present, but we're not mentally present.
Mhm.
It's a conscious effort to be present in the moment, whether the moment's good or bad, or whether the moment's indifferent,
Yeah.
just to be present in that time that you're together.
That was a big one for me when we first got married because
Mhm.
my dad was not able to ever be physically present.
Mhm.
And so you probably had an unfair disadvantage because if you were ever not physically present, then I was more anxious about what did that mean.
Mhm.
And so you really had to take some extra steps to ensure that I understood just because I can't physically be present doesn't mean I don't love you or that something's wrong.
Mhm.
You had to be aware of that, and you were.
Mhm.
But what does that look like? How do I make her feel like everything's okay? How do I help her know that I still love her? And then you also had to realize you needed to be very physically present. If you didn't have to be away, you needed to be physically present in our
Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah, and one of the tricks I learned with that was that I tried to always make it something where I would invite you along. Whatever I was doing, you want to go with me? You want to go do this? You want to go do that? And 9 times out of 10, it was something that you had no desire to go do and didn't want to be around. And so you would bow out gracefully, but it was that reassurance of, hey, I'm not doing this to get away from you. I would love for you to go with me, but I also don't want to put you through the mind-numbingly boring time that you're going to have there when we do that. You're welcome to go with me, but you don't have to, type thing. And so that type of a presence of just always leaving the door open to be with each other even was one of the things that I finally keyed in on that was helpful. And so, if you're having a problem being present or with your partner being present, be looking for things like that. If you're having a problem with your partner feeling like you are present,
Right.
then you sacrifice, right? You go back to it's sacrificial. So, yeah, even when it's not my problem, it's my problem because we're one. And so if you have a problem with me not being present, yeah, I can say, oh, well, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem.
Right.
But I'm never going to have a fun and fulfilling marriage and never going to have that super love that we're talking about because I'm making us choose sides. But when you look at it more as there is no, that's a you thing.
Right.
That's an us thing, because we are one. And so if you have a problem with me feeling present, then it's my responsibility to some degree to try to help alleviate that.
Right.
And so to even be present in the problems.
Right.
And not separate myself from the problem because it's your problem, but to step into the problem, be present in it and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. You want to come with me to do this? Do you want to, you don't even have to go in with me. You can just sit in the car and I'll be right back out or whatever it is. There are times I have to go do a hospital visit, and sometimes you come with me because you know the people or you know the person. And so you'll go in and sometimes you come and you've sat in the car before. Well, I ran in and visited and then, we went and did something else.
Right.
It's finding creative ways to be present even in the problems that will really move you ahead to a different level. Super love, if you will. I have to say it like that. I have to say super love. I can't just say super love. Doing these type of things are what moves you from just love that everybody knows to super love. It's the same as superhuman, right? We talk about superheroes being superhuman.
Right.
That just means that it's more than, right? And so what we're trying to have is more than just love, more than just a marriage.
Right.
We want to have super love, a fun and fulfilling marriage, not just a marriage. That's something that's on a piece of paper. All sorts of people have marriages. They don't necessarily have fun and fulfilling marriages. So be present. Be present. Okay. So the next one, we've kind of led into that, but it's to be extraordinary. So what does it mean to have in a super love? What does it look like to be extraordinary in that?
It's really about going above and beyond.
Right.
It's taking those extra steps that that's going to improve the relationship. So when we talk about the 5 love languages that we've talked about, doing that extra thing that is just going to help your partner know you were really thinking about them. So if it's acts of service and you've already done the dishes and done the laundry and mopped the floors and everything else, and you're like, the house is perfect. I've done all the acts of service I can think of. And you're sitting there and you think, wait, the front porch has still got leaves left on it. And I'll go do that too. Like you just went one step further or whatever. You found one more thing that's going to just speak to your partner just a little more. You're always thinking about what else can I do that takes it one step further, that makes this marriage just one level higher at being more fun and fulfilling all the time. And so it's really about thinking about them and how do I make it just a little bit better. And we always can make an excuse for like, it's good enough right now, or I'm just so busy. Like, we're happy. We've spent some time together tomorrow, or I'll have more time tomorrow. And the reality is, we never do. I mean, if there's never enough time. And so you can get really comfortable being fine in an ordinary marriage, in a comfortable marriage, in a it's good enough right now. Once the kids are grown, once the kids are, not toddlers, whatever. And then you turn around and you look back and it's never been extraordinary. And it can absolutely be extraordinary love. It can be an extraordinary marriage. You just have to take those times to make those extra steps, to do those extra things. And if you don't do it, you'll look back and realize you didn't.
I think the extraordinary part of that, like if you really want to be extra extraordinary, I think
extra.
I think it's doing those things, maybe even that your partner doesn't notice, because you're not doing it for them to notice.
Right.
When you're doing the things for them to notice, then that's really easy to slip into an ulterior motive there, right? But when you are being extraordinary in such a way that you've gone to the point of you're just doing little things, maybe even that they don't even recognize or don't even understand in that moment. I mean, eventually they'll see it, probably, maybe not. But if you're doing those type of things, then that's when it becomes this true extraordinary love, because it's not just doing the things that will be noticed and get me points. It's doing the other things that I know they would like. I'm not going to tell them about it. I'm just going to do it. And they may or may not notice. And I'm still going to be good with that. Men are terrible at that. We really need recognition. Hey, did you notice I did the dishes? Did you notice I did this? And most of the time women do notice those type of things. I mean, if they walk in and there's an empty sink and when they left for work, there was a full sink, they know. And whether they say something or not, that's enough, but they do know that. What they may not notice is, there was a chip crumb laying by the trash can. They may or may not have noticed that. Maybe I did. And when I did, I went ahead and swept that up, or I bent down and I picked that up and I put it in the trash. That's just a silly little example. But what other chip crumbs are in your life? What other things are there that are just little things that you can do that are either an act of service or whatever? I mean, they can be anything. What little things can you do that they may or may not notice that just pushes your marriage ahead? That's what being extraordinary is. It's doing the extra things to just push it a little further ahead, not for the recognition or the acknowledgement, but just because you want to have that type of a marriage. For me, that's what being extraordinary means. The ordinary would be to do it to get noticed or to do it to get points. That's not even necessarily bad. I mean, to do it for the reason of, I want to do this to make you happy so that you'll, be willing to do the things that I want to. I mean, like that's not necessarily bad if it's done with a pure heart and not in a manipulative kind of way. But to do those things with zero expectation of acknowledgement or zero care if there is acknowledgement or not.
Absolutely. You're not doing it for recognition.
Right.
It is noticing that you're almost out of medication and you've called that in for the person and you've picked up dinner on the way home because both of you are tired and nobody had to ask anybody to do anything.
Right.
It's noticing those things, and you're not doing it because you want someone to say, "Hey, thank you for doing it."
Right.
I mean, you might notice and you might say it, and that's great, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you care and you want to take this a step further and really take care of each other and be extraordinary in everything that you do for them.
So a super love is sacrificial, unconditional, it's present,
Mhm.
it's extraordinary.
Mhm.
And then the R
Mhm.
would be revealing.
Revealing really says no matter what the situation, you're learning something new about your partner all the time. And with that new knowledge, you guys are growing and learning. And maybe it's something that's you need to discuss. And maybe it's something that you kind of just tuck away in your heart and you're like, okay, that's something I've learned that I need to know. But you always are learning something with this. And it's always revealing something about you individually. It's about something about your partner and it's you as a couple. And you take that and you learn with that and you use what you've learned and you grow with it.
Yeah, every moment of our marriage, of our relationship, there is something being revealed that you need to look at. And you need to learn through all of these, through every conversation, through everything that's done. There are things that are being revealed. And you need to be able to see those things and adapt and to adjust and to learn and to push those things just a little bit further and really gain that kind of super love that we're talking about here. It's really the thing that takes your relationship from just a marriage to a fun and fulfilling marriage. It's being willing to do those 5 things, to be sacrificial, to love unconditionally, to be present in the moments and to be present in the problems, to be extraordinary, which means you go above and beyond, not just the normal everyday marriage stuff, but you go above and beyond to be more than. And then you're constantly revealing. Things are being revealed and you are revealing things to where you just become closer and closer and more one, like you're supposed to.
Absolutely. You have to be vulnerable and grow all the time.
So go start building that super love inside of your fun and fulfilling marriage.
He's John.
And she's Shallon. And this is Sittin In A Tree podcast. See you later. Bye-bye.
Guys.